What up? It's your boy, the Incredible Man, and yes, I am back at it again. And this is Lucifer Season 5, Part 1, Episode 3, and this is my review. You guys were absolutely right. I loved this episode, man. Let's get into it. This episode was freaking fantastic, man. And I know I said that on the previous two episodes, but I'm just loving every aspect of season 5, part 1 thus far. And this episode was no different, man, because we started right off where last week's ended, and we see Amenadiel talking to Lucifer, telling him that Michael has been up there on Earth causing chaos, imitating Lucifer. Now, Lucifer's flipping the script like, what is this hunched over, shoulder tilting maniac doing and portraying to be me? So we see Lucifer just tearing into Michael, talking about him, even talking about the way he walks and how he's hunched over. And Lucifer decides to go to Earth, and he has Amenadiel watch over hell for the moment. And so the episode after that, we see Lucifer dive straight back into it, and he just makes a beeline straight to Chloe, and she's all like, "No, no, no, no! I don't want to fool with you, Michael. No, no, this is not happening." But it turns out it was Lucifer, and she realizes, and he tells her, and she was like, "Oh wow!" Because he uses his powers yet again, and like, what is it you truly desire to the other officer? And we're back at that moment. But Chloe is feeling some type of way now because if you remember, Michael has laid out the big bombshell that God had made Chloe specifically for Lucifer. And that's what this episode was Chloe trying to deal with it and Lucifer trying to get back in her good graces. Uh, because he's not only out, but their relationship is not going to be the same anymore because the truth has come out, and Chloe feels like her life isn't her own and she can't make these choices, and the love that she feels for Lucifer isn't real. She feels like it was predestined, it was made up for her, it was set for her from the very beginning. So she's not really feeling their relationship anymore or even their friendship. She's just like taking a step back, and she's not with any of it. And we see Chloe hurting this episode, and we see Lucifer trying to get her back, but he's also dealing with the aspect of, I don't have Chloe like I thought I would. So it's not the same how he fantasizes. It's completely different because she now knows the truth. And I feel like the anger that she has toward him is very valid, but I feel like what makes it worse and multiplies it so much more than and blows it out of proportion way than what it should be is the fact that he knew and he didn't tell her for a year, because when Charlotte told him when she was his mother, he kept it a secret. And we knew and he suspected it from the very beginning, but he kept it a secret from Chloe for a year. And now that she knows the truth, the fact that he hid it, I think, is what makes her want to take a step back from their relationship. But that's not even that took place, but that's not even the most wonderful part of this episode. There were so many more aspects in this episode, and one of the great things was this episode took place like, I don't know if you guys are a fan of Supernatural, like those couple episodes of Supernatural where Sam and Dean had came in contact with Chuck, aka God, and like their whole life got read out of the book. This episode we see Lucifer solving a murder case with Chloe on the WB Studios set, along with coming in contact with a show called Diablo that's tied strictly after him, Chloe, Dan, and everybody else in the Lucifer show. So it's weird. It was weird watching that, but it was so fun at the same time. And everything that was going on with the characters in the Diablo show and how they were handling and taking everything is exactly how Chloe and Lucifer was feeling and going about everything in that moment. So I love how the case really tied into everything that was going on within episode 3 and what Chloe and Lucifer were dealing with. And that whole moment was fantastic. At the end, like, the case was pretty much, it was a case. I mean, and we pretty much knew who the killer was, so that's nothing special. But it was nice to have that moment, and it felt very Supernatural-esque. and have Diablo and Lucifer and Chloe and Dancer standing right there in the same scene and trade whiffs and quips and stuff. So it was nice to have that moment, and it felt really fun. And then that was just another great part of the episode. And we see Lucifer trying to redeem himself in Chloe's eyes for keeping this secret the entire episode. And they have moments to where they're back to fun and energetic, but she still hasn't forgiven him, and she still hasn't forgotten anything. And then we're dealing with Ella this episode, happy to have Lucifer back yet again, and we see her still a little cheery, and she's getting along fine with her, gambling drug kingpin boyfriend. So, that's nice. But we also see Maze and Linda both having some side effects this episode. Of We have Linda having some side effects of Michael tormenting her about, the possible child that she gave up or lost in 1994. So we see Linda still dealing with the after effects of that. And Lucifer is asking her is something going on with her. And, of course, she denied it. And she was just saying that, she wants Amenadiel back because of everything that's going on with Charlie in the possible case of something could happen to Charlie. That's what she's worried about. But she's also dealing with the fear that Michael implanted inside of her mind about the child that she had in 1994. Then we have Maze this entire episode. From the moment that she comes in contact with Lucifer, she starts to attack him again. And Lucifer just assumes that she's attacking him because she thinks he's Michael. But that's not the case. She's attacking him because she knows that he's Lucifer, and she just doesn't care because he left her on Earth when she wanted to go back to hell. But that wasn't her whole thing. She was using it as a front. Maze was dealing with something so much more deeper this season, and she's missing Eve for one, and she has some abandonment issues. Lucifer left her, Chloe left her, Eve left her, and that's what the real focus was. But we also get to see this side of Maze that we haven't seen this entire time. And granted, her being left on Earth is really making her act more human, and I'm fine with that. I really love this side of Maze, seeing her like that. All of the other past seasons, we see her do some human-esque things like saving someone here, helping someone here and there, doing all of this other nice stuff every once in a while. To see her so vulnerable right now in this moment, like where she's crying, she's upset, and she's just traumatized a little bit because she's so worried that she's going to get abandoned. And it's so many emotions that Maze is feeling that we haven't really seen her deal with in the previous seasons. We've had her deal with one emotion here, one emotion there, and that's it. But now we see her going through a bundle of emotions, and she can't really take it. Now, the best part of this episode, not to knock down anything else that happened this episode, I love all of it, was the moment that we see Michael and Lucifer have a confrontation, and having Tom Ellis stand on this side as Lucifer, all nice and proper, and then we see him on this side as Michael and his shoulders tilted. And when they pull out their wings, I didn't notice this the very first time, but Michael's wings are even a little crooked, and not just because he's standing, but like the actual wing itself. Like he has some feathers that's kind of turned up and that's a little crooked. So his wings are crooked as well, to go along with his whole demeanor and his characteristics, because he's a little twisted. So him being hunched over and his wings being a little warped a little bit as well kind of sells the whole aspect of it, and I love it. Now, the fight between the two. The fight was epic. Now, it wasn't too much. It was just basically, they shot it very differently because, you had to film Tom as Michael being on top. Then you had to film Tom as Lucifer being beaten. Then you had to film him being dominant over Michael. And when it happened, it was epic. They were the nice cuts and everything. So they handled it very well, and I really enjoyed it. And you really couldn't tell that it wasn't Tom. I mean, they had to use a stand-in for those scenes, but they cut it so good, and Tom acted it and portrayed it very well that you really couldn't tell that he wasn't in the scene or the shot. Now, when he cut Michael, oh my gosh, dude, that was fantastic. He was like, well, now people will always be able to tell us apart. It's a big gash across his face. But what I really loved and enjoyed was we learned that Michael was the reason why Lucifer rebelled against God, why he done everything he did in the garden. and every other choice he made about Earth, about Chloe, and everything. So Michael has been constructing all of this behind the scenes ever since the very beginning of time, because he's always been jealous of Lucifer. And the sad thing is now Lucifer is in a predicament like Chloe, but he go after he does everything and has that whole fallout with Michael, he goes to tell her, well, hey, I'm just like you. And that's not what she wanted. And Lucifer, he's trying. I understand he's totally trying, but that's not what she wanted. She didn't want to be in the same predicament as you. She didn't want that to happen to her at all. But I feel like if he went over there and explained it a different way, but he just came over there and that was his first end goal. Like when he got there to the house, hey, we're in the same predicament, so you can forgive me now. That's what he was looking for. And it's not going to be that easy. He's going to have to rebuild that road, bridge, or whatever to have that connection back to Chloe. And we also see him and Dan this episode. I felt sorry for Dan a little bit because, with the original Lucifer returning, and I totally agree. I think Dan prefers the original Lucifer, not Michael at all. But with the original Lucifer returning, Lucifer, because he was so focused on Chloe, he was like really bashing Dan hard this episode. And I normally love their banter back and forth with them, kind of, hey, yeah, he's talking about him. No, I don't like you either. So I love their banter going back and forth. But this episode, Lucifer was really dumping on Dan, man. And I kind of felt sorry for him. But they redeemed every single moment that he dumped on Dan this episode, in that very final scene where we see them at Chloe's desk reading the script, and then Dan kind of just opens up his heart to Lucifer about Charlotte, and Lucifer's like, well, you know what? Yeah, man, I agree. You know what? Give me the bracelet. I'll wear the bracelet. And then they have a nice comedic moment with them reading the scripts for Diablo in space. And Lucifer's reading his scripts in an English accent, in an American accent, and he's having a fun time. And Dan's over here like, yes, this is the line and part that I was supposed to read. that's not it. And then Lucifer's like, oh my gosh, Dan, your character's dead, not you. So you read the lines with a little life to them. So it brought fun back to their whole dynamic, instead of Lucifer just dumping on Dan because he's hurt, because Chloe's hurt as well. But overall, I enjoyed this episode. We also see that at the very ending of the episode, we see that Michael is at Chloe's house once Maze returns to apologize to Chloe. And we see that Michael tells Maze something very significant, which is that Lucifer does not lie. He doesn't lie. We know that for a fact. But he does kind of maybe leave some things out. And I'm assuming that it's pertaining to Eve. But see, that's the thing, man. Lucifer is so worried about Chloe right now, that with everything that's going on with her and their relationship, that he's kind of leaving everybody else in the wind. And that's the opportunity that Michael needs to use against him. And I feel like it's definitely going to come back to bite him. That's everything, man, that I wanted to talk about. And boy, oh boy, I'm finna go dive into episode 4 now, man. This is your boy Dick Incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button until you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them, and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.
I ain't taking a backseat, I'm passing anybody else who is rapping, I'm nasty. Ain't nobody able to catch me, they gasping. They cannot compare, they can't match me, I'm at half speed.